Hi, Salon. This is Joan. I'm making my June 2026 tape that discusses my progress as a Muslim. I decided to pick the topic of expectations of one in public with romance or sexuality, either as a single person or engaged and married. But first, I'm going to start with a prayer. Allah, grant us from among this community spouses and children that are a comfort to our eyes and that make or enable us to be an example of righteousness. So, the topics that I'm going to be covering have to do with, I'm going to just list all the ones I thought of: polygamy, monogamy, changing names, oral sex, French kissing, if it's okay for a man and a woman both to initiate sexuality, if you can say I love you and when, and the subject of gifts being exchanged. Also, as far as the MAR, what the norms are for a gift in the middle class. So the reason I picked the topic is because I'm involved in it, and I started to worry that maybe I had made mistakes. I just want to do what I should. So I'm just going to read, as far as the Korean ayat that relates to marriage and the hadiths, I'm just going to read them verbatim. And then the requirements. It is required that the man and woman consent willingly to marriage. And they look at it as receiving protection. It must be an agreed upon gift or mar that is all the time. It's mandatory or it invalidates the marriage. And also, it's discussing that usually, like 99% of the time, two Muslims witnessing the marriage is necessary, but there is an exception when you use a nikah muta, or that's what I did. It's a Shia involvement. It has a begin and ending date. So, as far as monogamy and polygamy, I now know that marriage in the United States is completely different as opposed to a Muslim in his own country as far as laws. The man is able to verify marriage with any and all of his wives in a single month in his own country. But in America, because all that's legal is monogamy, they're not able to bring other wives. It would just be the American wife that he can involve himself with. And as far as who started monogamy, I looked that up and it said that the Roman Catholic Church did. And then when Jewish people were exposed to it, a man named Rabbi Gershom ben Judah decided he liked the concept and he began to ban polygamy for Jewish people. He was from Germany and he did make other laws related to that where they can't even divorce without a wife's consent. And the other laws, he made one about how you can't open anybody else's mail. He was born 1,000 years after Christ in the 11th century, and he was Ashkenazi. So here are about 5 hadiths that give information about marriage. This one was given by Muhammad, that if there is a person whose character and religion you are pleased with exists, it encourages you to marry them, because if you don't, there will probably be corruption, and this is listed under Chamiti. The next one is one that was made by Bakari about the purpose of marrying, and it says, Those men who are young and can support a wife should do so, that it restrains the eyes and protects private parts from sin, and that if you can't do so, you should fast, that marriage is used like a shield. This third one is by timidity and says that the most perfect believer in faith are those that are best to their wives and women. And the next one is Bakari, that God has a right over you, and then also your wife does in marriage. And this is an ayat from the Quran. It's book 30, verse 21. That God created for you mates, that you may find peace of mind with them and tranquility. So I'm going to tell you what I remember of these topics when I was reading, and then I'm going to look at my paper and make sure I did it correctly. As far as changing names, you're not required to. You are, or it is acceptable to keep your family name. That's what I did. Now been married 3 times. One time to a man named Lander Krabs, and then most recently to um, his last name is McMillan Corinthians. So the first time I thought that the marriage might last a long time, and we just used a paper with the Korean verse on it and signed our names to it. But the second time we used the Nika Muta and put beginning and ending dates. We did that twice, and it was just a brief period of 2 weeks. It gave me peace of mind about romance and my relationship to God. So, in a Nika Muta, the requirement to have witnesses is not needed, and it was my husband that did announce to his friends that we were married. And then the second time I put an announcement on Facebook, but those marriages ended on the 29th. And then, as far as oral sex, it is stating that they're debating it as being acceptable or halal. And French kissing, any form of sexuality or romance in public is not supported. It only wants it to be done in marriage. And then when it is a marriage, you should not do anything in front of children. As far as initiating sex, it is okay for the wife or husband to do so. But as far as saying you love each other, that's supposed to be withheld until after a marriage paper is signed. And then the gifts or requirements of a mar, which again is mandatory or invalidates the marriage. It says that if you're born into the middle class, it's usually between $4,000 to $15,000 as a norm, or $300 to $500, which sometimes is a replacement with a trip to Hajj or what says Umrah. Anyway, it does speak about dowries, but those are optional, and that is something that gives financial support to a wife when her spouse dies. So I'm going to just look over my paper here. I read the hadith. I did worry about wearing my hijab while being romantic, and it says during marriage that's no problem because sexuality is not dirty, but outside of marriage that's a problem. And they say that there's no hadith or Korean verse that gives input into oral sexuality. It just asks that you be clean and wash your mouth. before and after, and it uses the term TAHARAH. As far as public displays of affection, definitely is against all of it. And then it talks about how you should not be fondling each other or kissing. Only in marriage, that's okay. And it talks about how to start it. If you've never done it, you can lean into it. And then engagement, it says you can withhold I love you until paperwork is signed. And then I wanted to mention that there is an actor named Neil, it's McDonough, and it says that he refuses to kiss other women on screen and has lost job offers over his decision making about it. And for instance, he's made Buck and the Band of Brothers and Desperate Housewives, but he's made numerous movies. That's all I have.